Welcome to Veterans United, a program sponsored by the Firewatch, Northeast Florida's fight to end veteran suicide. I'm Nick Howland, Navy veteran, your host, and Executive Director of the Firewatch. In this program, you'll meet 2 or 3 veterans who will share their challenges and experiences since leaving active duty. You'll also meet a couple civilians who are doing great things for veterans here in Northeast Florida. In the meantime, you can help. There's a role for everybody. Visit thefirewatch.org and register as a watchstander. Learn to identify the risk signs of veterans in crisis. Learn to get veterans the help they need. Together, we can end veteran suicide here in Northeast Florida. Enjoy the program.
From Studio 3 at Buzz TV, it's The Horse's Mouth with Tom McManus.
All right, time once again for The Horse's Mouth here on Buzz TV. Another veterans-themed edition brought to you by the Firewatch.org, a veteran suicide prevention program. Always an honor to talk about them. Always honored to have my guests at the bar who have served for our beloved country. How are you guys doing, lady and gentlemen? Great to have you on the show. Jeff Wallace is here. He's a former Navy veteran. Great to have you, Jeff. Keith Grivois. Close. Was that it? Was that it? Okay.
Yeah,
Army Ranger who joins us at the bar, and Susan Appleton also with the Navy as well. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, Jeff, I'm going to start with you. How long did you serve in the Navy, and when did you get started? Was it like right out of high school, out of college? When did you decide you were going to go serve for our country?
Well, I served for almost 23 years.
Okay.
When I graduated high school, and I tried to walk on and play baseball at a local college, which I was minimally successful at. But when that fell through, I decided to look at all the services, and I did, and I chose the Navy. And long story short, I'm so glad I did. I got to see over 40 countries. I learned a lot.
Wow.
It was a great opportunity. I'm glad I took it.
What'd you do with the Navy?
I was an operations specialist.
Okay.
So I worked in the tactical nerve center of the ship. I was the warfighter, making recommendations to the commanding officer on who to shoot, who not to shoot, that type of thing.
You use Top Gun as a reference off the air. The guy in the dark room with the radar.
With the radar
going.
Talking to the airplane. That's what I did.
Perfect. Keith is here. You're with Naughty Veteran Charters, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So basically, we for every 10 paid charters that we do, we have 1 free vet trip that we do. So 10% of our paid charters goes aside, and then after 10 charters, we take a free vet trip out. So they get to, it works for everybody. We get to take more veterans out.
Cool.
And that 1 day out on the water, just
no doubt,
it makes a huge difference. Just their face, they light up, everything.
It's magical.
Yeah.
It is. Yep. You're a former Army Ranger.
I am.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Right out of high school, college?
Right out of high school,
wow.
And then when I got out of the military, I went to college. I was actually going to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay,
and,
cool.
Changed my mind about right after I graduated with my pre-med degree and a minor in chemistry and physics.
Wow.
And then I was like, I got to do something different. I got to do something for the vets. And I went, fishing with Dave Marciano, Wicked Tuna.
Yep.
And my wife was pushing me to do something. She saw that I was in a rut when I got out, and she's like, "You got to do something."
Cool.
So she pushed me, got my captain's license.
Good for you as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's therapy for me, and I love seeing the smiles on these guys' face.
Marciano's out of Gloucester, right?
Yeah.
So I went to Boston College. I know Gloucester. That's a cool fishing community up there, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's old school.
I still am in touch with this guy. I write him back and forth, and we shoot ideas off of one another. I'm trying to get him to come down and surprise some disabled vets on the trip. Like, they won't know about it until they show up to the dock in the morning, and Dave Marciano.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, great to have you here. Susan Appleton is here as well. Served in the Navy for many years. Has her own company, Appleton Communications. When did you join the Navy?
Actually, I was a late bloomer.
Okay.
I went in my late 20s because I was that person who needed to make sure that I was going to follow orders without getting defiant. Mm-hmm. So I had to mature up a little bit in that respect. So I went in about 29, did 8 years, and would have stayed longer, but circumstances led me to get out. I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experience. Got to do a lot of countries, serve and help each other to get past all of the things that we had to.
Okay.
I dealt with the money.
Right.
So,
What was your title again?
dispersing clerk.
Okay, nice.
So
nice.
we made sure that everybody got their pay and entitlements.
Nice.
On the ship, I was over the ATMs, making sure that everybody got their money.
Right, especially right before leave.
Critical.
Right. Like to death, probably.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty much.
I bet.
Pretty much,
I bet.
yeah.
All right, well, tell us about your company, Appleton Communications. What do you guys do?
Appleton Communication, we specialize in leadership soft skills.
Okay.
So we help leaders to develop their people side, to make sure that they understand that no matter what you're in, the bottom line is generated by relationships and by people skills.
Yep.
So coaching, training, workshops, speaking, those things that lead leaders to accelerate their success and the success of those that they serve, but through people.
Yeah.
Through people.
I always feel like, whether it was coaches or just leaders in general, the ones that were genuine, that you felt they were genuine, like it wasn't an act. They acted the same way in front of you as they do in front of their family. It's just easy. You can follow somebody like that. And that to me makes a great leader. How about you?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Being genuine, I always thought that you need to know how to follow before you can know how to lead.
Absolutely.
And
good one.
Some of my commands, I had great leadership. Some I had not so great leadership. But I would tell you that both instances and both experiences, I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Right.
Because you learned how to treat people and you learned how not to treat people. And back to your point, Susan, the capital in people that you have is, like you said, that's your bottom line. No matter how great you are, how much you know, if the people that work for you and work with you can't trust you, then you're going to have a difficult time in business.
Yeah. There's always, and it's not the same, and I'm not comparing, but there's a parallel to a veteran and a former professional athlete, because it's special when you're with your unit, which we're in the locker room or out on the field or what have you. All that matters is what? Doing your job and doing it with good character, as best character as you can. Same with the military, right? And then you get out into the real world, and not everyone's like that. And same with former athletes. Like, man, the locker room was so easy. It was like, didn't matter where we all from, what we looked like, who we prayed to, who we voted for. None of that mattered. All that mattered was, could you play, and were you a good guy? Is that, from a transition standpoint, is that the biggest hurdle you think for veterans?
It is one of them. I think depending, because you're going to meet still, even within the military framework, and kind of like you said, when you're out there and you're doing your job, there's nothing. But each person is still an individual person. So some people have an easier time transitioning than others. But I do think it's something that each of us has to be able to kind of wrap your mind around in our own way. I was lucky enough to have a couple civilian opportunities prior to getting out, so it wasn't quite the jump for me that I think it is for some people.
Right.
But there are some that it is quite a shock.
Yeah.
Just because the person that you're talking to, if they tell you something, you expect them to keep their word. You expect them to do their job, and that's not always the case.
No, right. How about you, Keith?
Well, when I got out, it was just, the transition was tough. It was tough. I had PTSD really bad. I was going downhill. Marina, my wife, noticed it. Everyone around me noticed it except for me.
Wow.
I didn't notice it. I thought
It's
everything was good.
to have the support.
But then she was like, you got to do something more. You got to do something more. So when I started this charter business, last year I did it by myself because I wanted to know every role on the boat. I wanted to know what it was like to be the first mate and the captain. So I did the whole thing by myself all year. This year I have a first mate, and he's like, you are the best captain that I've worked for because you have a personality. You're good at interacting with people. And most captains just sit there, drive the boat. They don't pay attention to the people on the boat.
Right.
I'm totally the opposite of that. I'll be there baiting their hooks, talking to them, taking pictures of them. We'll stop when the sun's rising, and he's like, Cap, we got to get out to the fishing spots. I'm like, no, we can take 10 seconds and take a picture of the people and then continue on. It's all about making memories with them.
Experience.
And the experience with them. We're always focused on the fish. But it's actually the memories that we're making with these people.
Not to get too deep, but you're doing it for veterans, but you're also doing it for yourself. It's got to be good mental therapy for you.
It is. Every time I go out on the water, every time I step on the boat, I'm rigging gear, talking to my first mate, we're getting stuff ready to go. and making a game plan basically.
Yep. Right.
How's the wind today? Where are we going to go? We heading north? We heading south? We heading due east?
Yep.
Which structures are we going to hit? Are we going to troll? Are we going to bottom fit? There's so many things that go into it, but it's awesome for me because now I can actually appreciate every job on the boat.
Right.
Like
So
what he does, what I do.
Be able to.
Okay, I have a question for you then. So from what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that you should have joined the Navy.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
No.
Would have had the boat experience a little longer, a little sooner, right?
I like it.
I have a lot of people that were in the Navy on boat. Cheers.
That's right. Susan, how about for you with the transition? Because you probably deal with people with your company going through a transition of sorts, right? With being in a leadership role or maybe switching companies or what have you.
Right.
How can you parallel some of that, getting out of the Navy and then into the real life and then what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
I think the transition for me was not as difficult because I wasn't on the front lines. I used to always say if something happened to me, then everyone else was already taken out because I was so far removed from that.
Right.
So I didn't deal with the PTSD or those types of things. I just dealt with the adjustment because, like I said, if something had not happened, I would have done 30 years.
Yep.
In the military, it was very structured and disciplined, and your word was your bond, and we had each other's backs, regardless of how we felt, individually. And transitioning back out into the civilian world, you realize that everybody is not necessarily like that, but I couldn't go in a distrustful manner.
Right.
You just had to kind of sort of prove yourself before I would go all in. So my transition wasn't as difficult, but I do find for veterans as well as leaders, when you're making that adjustment, it's really important to understand where you're coming from. Where you're coming from and what your needs are. Because if you don't understand that, then how are you going to lead someone else? How are you going to help someone else transition from one spot to the other? And the biggest thing in leadership is that we have to be prepared to meet people where they are. And not want them to be where we want them to be. Our job is to help them to get to their place like they did for us in the military. If you wanted to excel in a certain area, then you had someone pushing you. But if you wanted to stay where you are, which most of us did not, you were allowed to do so. You just had to be excellent where you were. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Excellence is the key, right?
Yeah.
Didn't the old Raiders owner say that, right? Driven to excellence, right? He was fantastic. All right, Jeff, we're going to wrap it up with you. You, like you said, what you did in the Navy. How about what you're doing today, and how are things going?
Well, right now, I work for A. Harold and Associates. I was lucky enough to meet up with a gentleman that I had served with in the Navy as a project manager, and he thought he had a good spot for me, and it's been a great fit with COVID and everything. There's some flexibility for working from home and things of that nature. As it's a logistics training corporation right now. We're developing training for the Navy, but we serve many different customers. But it's been a really great experience, and happy to be there.
That's great. Well, I want to tell you guys, I really enjoyed this conversation. This is fantastic. What the show is all about is what we just spoke about. So cheers to all of you.
Cheers.
Thank you for your service. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure
to meet y'all. That'll do it for us on this Veterans-themed edition of The Horse's Mouth, brought to you by the Firewatch.org, a veteran suicide prevention program. We are honored to have them on board. Until next time, stay safe, be cool. We'll see you right here on The Horse's Mouth. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey family, welcome back to Buzzworthy Veterans. I'm your host, Ant Stroud. Today I have the honors of sitting next to Benjamin Matthews with Skillstorm Commercial Services. Benjamin, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, tell me about your military service, because we talked a little bit offline. I'm super excited because we have some of the same juice going. So tell me about it.
Sure. So I spent 8 years on active duty in the Army, and I was a medic in the Army. Decided to transition out of active duty, went to law school, missed being in the military, missed being in the club. So I went back into the reserves, this time in the Air Force. I'm an Air Force reservist, and I'm a JAG officer right now, currently.
That's awesome. And as some of our family members already know, that I did 9 years active as a corpsman, which is equivalent to, you know, the term and stuff to a medic in the Army. And I got out, and I'm in the reserves as well now too. So I love that we have that kind of dynamic and stuff. Tell me, what was it? Why did you get out? What was that point that said, you know, I think it's time?
So 8 years in, you have to make a decision around that time in the military.
Because you get to 10,
that you're in.
Stuck.
You got to do it. So, you know, at that time, I decided, you know, I wanted to do, you know, I wanted to go to law school. So I always figured I'd come back in. So it wasn't a goodbye. It was I'll see you soon.
I love it. I love it. I love that mindset. We can't let them go, but we're just going to make it work for us. And
yes.
Law school was a way for you to connect back into it and join the reserves. That's awesome. Okay, so tell me about Skillstorm Commercial Services.
So we are an IT consulting company, and we build tech teams, right, for our clients. And we have a couple of different ways that we do that. And we encourage veterans and transitioning service members to become software engineers. Because about 70% of transitioning service members want to get into tech. And you know, there's not 70% of the service members that are in tech while they're in the military, right? So we have different training programs to train service members to become software engineers.
Wow, that's awesome. And so I was talking with you a little bit about your connection with the veteran community as a whole. And as you can, you know, Buzzworthy Veterans, we love veterans. Our goal and our mission, part of it is to show veterans that while you're in, you have your brothers and sisters, and we all fear when we get out that we're going to lose that. But it's actually, there's a whole veteran community that they're your brothers and sisters as well, and we're here for you, and we're thriving. And it might not have been an easy road to get there, but we're here. How do you communicate and connect with the veteran community?
So we are very connected with veterans. So we work with the VA very closely. We are a Vet Tech Employer Consortium founding member.
Nice.
So we work with the VA in that way. We have a Department of Labor registered apprenticeship for transitioning service members to become IT software apprentices.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you know, we work with all sorts of different organizations, hiring our heroes to hire transitioning service members. We work with Marines for Life, Soldier for Life, Airmen for Life. You know, we're working with Wounded Warriors. We're talking to Operation New Uniform now so that we can, you know, create a partnership with them. So if there's a veteran organization that helps veterans get into tech or transitioning service members who want to get into tech, we're working with them, or we're going to work with them.
That's awesome. How did you particularly get involved with Skills?
So I'm the general counsel there. So I'm the company lawyer.
Nice.
But because I have military, you know, the executive leadership of the company, you know, really wanted to make a push to hire veterans and transitioning service members. As a matter of fact, we have a goal this year that we're going to hire 250 service members, transitioning service members and veterans.
I love it.
And so they said, "Hey Ben, we know that you're a service member now. How do we get in front of this community to say, hey, look, you've got all the soft skills and a lot of the attributes that make great software engineers, and we can teach you to tech. So how do we get them to come to us?"
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I love it. And I'm glad you're here on Buzzworthy Veterans to get that message out there. If anybody wanted to get involved with your company, potentially apply for these programs you speak of, how can they go about doing that?
So there are a couple different ways that they can do that. They can work with Hiring Our Heroes to do a DoD SkillBridge program with us. We are a DoD SkillBridge provider ourselves.
That's important, because that just came, I remember when I was transitioning out a couple of years ago, and that had just came on the market, like the scene. It has been there, but it was never really talked about.
Right.
So I remember when we had to apply, and you have to look for internships, and some of them are not there. So that is awesome that you are a SkillBridges company to help them with that.
Yeah, so they can go to our website, so www.skillstorm.com. And we have all of our different programs on there, as well as a learning management system that we call Storm Surge. So if you have to take a tech screen, and if you show the aptitude, then we can get you into one of our training programs. If you're not quite there yet, we provide free training. So we have micro courses that provide free training that'll give you the foundations that you can take. And if you do those foundational courses, you should get through our tech screen, no problem.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I have no desire to go into IT because I'm not IT savvy, but I love your mission. I love the company already, and I love what you're doing for our veterans out there and our transitioning members. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
All right, family, that's going to do it for this episode of Buzzworthy Veterans. If you want to know more about Skillstorm Commercial Services, please visit iwannabuzz.com. Remember, always vets, always family. I'll see you next time. I'm Ant Stroud.
Hello, I'm John Rutherford from the United States House of Representatives, and I am a watchstander.
Hi, I'm Michelle McManaman from Operation Uniform, and I am a watchstander, and so is everyone in my organization.
I'm D'Amica Jackson. I'm the president of the Jacksonville Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and I am a watchstander.
Hi, I'm Luke Lewis with Xera Realty.
I am Ant Stroud with the Ant Stroud Group.
I'm Bruce Thompson. I'm the Vice President of the Veterans Chamber of Commerce.
And I am a watchstander.
I am a watchstander.
I'm a watchstander.
Each year, over 6,000 U.S. military veterans take their own lives, including one per week in Northeast Florida. The Fire Watch is our community's fight to end veteran suicide. Join us. Become a watchstander today at thefirewatch.org. Together, we will end veteran suicide.
Hey family, welcome back to Buzzworthy Veterans. I'm your host, Ant Stroud. Today I have the honor of sitting next to / virtually with Randall Thomas with Modus. Randall, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Ant. Appreciate you having me here.
Awesome. We'd love to have you on, even if we have to do it via virtually, thanks to technology.
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell us about your military service.
Yeah, sure. I joined the Navy back in 2006 out of Austin, Texas. And from there, I ventured over here to Jacksonville for the majority of my career fixing airplanes on the electronic side. So I worked on some P3s, some fighter jets, helicopters, you name it, if it flies. I got the chance to work on the electronics, the radars, the sonars, of those specific aircraft. I got to transition out of the service and continue to do that with the civil service as well. So I got, a total of 10 years of being able to turn wrenches on these aircrafts and get them back up for flight.
Nice. That's awesome. Now, I want to ask you, because you're from Texas, you came to Florida. A lot of people compare the two, and there's not a whole lot of difference, but do you see a difference between the two states?
The main difference I would say is the humidity. I think that's the biggest difference. Where I was in Texas, it was a little drier, but yes, they're both southern states. Golf is a big deal and water sports are a big deal. So, and so is football, obviously. So a lot of similarities. It was an easy transition.
Nice. All right, let's jump into Modus. Tell us about Modus.
Yeah, absolutely. So Modus is a professional placement service company, and we specialize in IT and engineering. So what happens is we partner with local businesses here in the market, and then we try to pair top talent with those businesses. And recently, we took on a pretty heavy initiative for veteran hiring. So we have been trying to partner with local and national agencies to, help ease the transition for those folks who, may have been in my shoes or your shoes, who were getting out and they weren't sure what they wanted to do. Or if they thought that they wanted to get into IT, we want to be able to help build that bridge for them.
Awesome. And so what specifically do you do with Modus?
Yeah, so me specifically, I am the team lead and senior recruiter for our delivery and recruitment team here in Jacksonville. So we have a team, it's about 13. We have a managing director. We have some folks that dabble in business development, and then we have recruiters. And our job specifically is to find the talent, whereas the biz dev, their entire job is to go partner with the local businesses, and we can make the happy marriage between the two.
Awesome. That's great. I'm so glad that you had a great military service, and it seems like you're loving your current position with Modus. Tell us how that transition went from military to civilian.
Yeah, that's a great question. The transition was not fun per se. When you look back on it, everything is 2020 in hindsight. So you look back with some retrospective and you see that, maybe we didn't have all the tools to be successful. And I genuinely believe that the people who were running the transition services may not have had the tools as well. So the transition was a little difficult, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do and civilianize my job history, which was the only thing I had known at the time was the service. I will say that it was definitely met with some challenges, and there was some speed bumps along the way, to say the least.
Yes, definitely. It always seems to never go as easy as we think it is, but I know there's a lot of resources out there that transitioning members have. Did you tap into any of those kind of resources?
So in terms of job placement resources, not so much. I did meet with a few agencies that specialize in placement services, but even the challenges that they saw were that they didn't know what to do with me. And it seems to be a common theme amongst veterans is that they don't know where they want to put them or how to properly utilize their skills. But I did lean on my mentor from the service, and we still speak, to this day. And he put me onto a program where the Navy actually was paying to see a mental health specialist for 12 months. And for me, I had not done that. That was a new, venture for me to see a therapist. However, it did allow me to build some structure mentally and compartmentalize things so that all the rejections and whatnot weren't taken personally. And then I was able to overcome, the daily challenges that were, associated with the job search.
That's awesome. I'm glad to see it worked out for you and your success you have with Modus. If anybody wanted to reach out to your department via Modus, and maybe it might be a great fit for them, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go to modus.com, and that will be the easiest way to kind of see the jobs that are available and get some history about the company. If they want to speak to me and directly and go into some of the veterans initiatives that we are working with, they can reach me on LinkedIn, which is linkedin.com/Randall W. Thomas, or just a general search will narrow that down for them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Randall, and thank you for being a part of the family. All right, family members, that's going to do it for this episode of Buzzworthy Veterans. I'm your host, Ant Stroud. If you want to learn more about Randall and Modus, please visit iwannabuzz.com. And remember, always vets, always family. I'll see you next time.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of Veterans United. The Firewatch is Northeast Florida's fight to end veteran suicide. There's a role for everybody. Join us as a watchstander. Visit thefirewatch.org and learn to identify the risk signs of veterans in crisis, how to ask veterans if they need help, and how to get veterans the help they need. Together, we will end veteran suicide. The Firewatch, Northeast Florida's fight to end veteran suicide. Today is military... Okay, it was going so well.